A woman will never approach you directly and say she is interested or ask you to make a move. That is not how female attraction usually works. Instead, she communicates it in more subtle ways, often through small, almost unnoticeable actions. One of the most telling signs is what she touches. If you don't understand these signs, you can easily miss your shot while a man who is more observant steps in. Here is the reality. Research published in the Journal of Nonverbal Behavior found that more than 90% of emotional communication happens without words. In other words, the most important signals she is sending are not verbal, they are expressed through body language, especially her hands. Unfortunately, many men simply don't know how to read these signals. The truth is, women are not as difficult to understand as they are often made out to be. They reveal a lot through their movements, what they touch, how they position themselves, and how they behave around a man they are genuinely attracted to. The issue isn't that the signs are hidden, it's that most people were never taught how to interpret them. Before getting into the first signs, I need to tell you something important. The final signal, number 8, is often misunderstood. It doesn't look like flirting at all and is frequently interpreted as disinterest. In reality, it can indicate the exact opposite. She may already be imagining a deeper connection with you. Now let us get started. Starting with the first sign, hair touching. It might seem obvious, but there is a key distinction. There is a difference between casually brushing hair aside because of the wind and repeatedly playing with it while interacting with someone. According to Dr. David Givens of the Center for Nonverbal Studies, frequent hair touching, twisting, flipping, or adjusting, is one of the most consistent and deeply rooted signals of women's attraction. It is not usually deliberate, it is driven by neurological responses. When a woman feels attracted, chemicals like dopamine and norepinephrine increase nervous energy, often channeled through the hands, making the hair a natural outlet. The pattern matters. A single, absent-minded adjustment doesn't mean much. But repeated, deliberate movements, like twirling strands, shifting it to one side, or exposing the neck, are more intentional. They draw attention and signal interest. That brings us to the next sign, touching the neck or collarbone. When a woman lightly traces these areas while talking to you, it is significant. The neck is a vulnerable part of the body, housing major arteries close to the surface. From an evolutionary perspective, exposing or highlighting it signals trust and comfort. It suggests she feels safe around you and is open to a more intimate level of attention, even if she never says it out loud. According to body language researcher Vanessa Van Edwards, women tend to touch their necks far more often, up to 3 times as much, when they're interacting with a man they are attracted to compared to a man they are not attracted to. That kind of jump isn't random, it reflects automatic biological responses at work. From women's perspective, this behavior is often completely unconscious. She might only realize afterward that she was doing it. So if you notice it happening in real time, it's worth paying attention, because her body is likely revealing more than her words ever will. Another subtle but powerful signal involves the lips. If she lightly touches them, bites her lower lip, or slowly applies lip balm while holding eye contact, she's not just fixing dryness, she's drawing your attention. Even if she isn't fully aware of it, the gesture highlights one of the most naturally attractive features of her face. Research from the University of Manchester found that men spend a large portion of the time, around 40% or more, looking at a woman's lips during face-to-face interaction, especially when there's contrast in color. This isn't new, it's part of why lipstick has been used for centuries, to make lips stand out. So when she emphasizes them through touch, she's reinforcing a signal you're already wired to notice. Now, there's a key shift between possibly interested and very likely interested, and it shows up in something many men overlook: how she handles her jewelry. If she starts playing with a necklace, twisting a ring, or adjusting an earring while talking to you, it can signal heightened emotional energy. Psychologically, this falls under what's called a self-soothing behavior, something people do when they feel a mix of excitement, nervousness, or attraction and need a physical outlet for that energy. Communication researcher Albert Mehrabian found that self-touching increases when people are emotionally engaged. The more invested she feels, the more likely her hands will stay active. And if her attention keeps going to a necklace or something near her neckline, it can also subtly guide your attention there as well. At this point, things can move from indirect signals to something much clearer: physical contact. If she reaches out and touches your arm, shoulder, or hand during conversation, that's significant. Initiating touch crosses a social boundary, especially between people who aren't yet close. Studies from DePaul University show that even brief touch can increase feelings of warmth, trust, and connection. So when she does it, she's not just expressing interest, she's also actively building rapport. What matters next is how you respond. Ignoring it can feel like a missed connection. A simple acknowledgement, like leaning in slightly, smiling, or gently reciprocating, keeps the interaction flowing and signals that you're engaged too. Now let us move to the next obvious sign that often goes unnoticed. If you are sitting across from her and she starts tracing the rim of a glass, sliding her finger along the edge, or slowly moving it up and down the stem, that can be a classic flirtation gesture. It is understated, but it often reflects the same underlying theme: nervous energy, focus, and an attempt, conscious or not, to create a more intimate atmosphere. Former FBI behavioral analyst Joe Navarro explains that when someone starts fidgeting with objects during a conversation, it often signals strong emotional involvement, and sometimes attraction. In this case, the object, like a glass, becomes a substitute. She may be channeling the physical energy she feels toward you into something safe, because the interaction hasn't yet reached a point where she can express it directly. If a woman is doing this, slowly tracing her glass, maintaining eye contact, and smiling, it's a fairly clear sign of interest. Missing that kind of combination usually means overlooking something quite obvious. Another clear sign to notice is when she starts adjusting her clothing, fixing her top, smoothing her skirt, or straightening her sleeves. This is known as preening, a classic courtship behavior seen across many species. Evolutionary biologist Jeffrey Miller has compared this to how animals groom themselves to appear more attractive to a potential mate. It's less about vanity and more about presentation. She wants to look her best in your presence. Context matters here. If she were already adjusting her outfit before noticing you, it could just be routine. But if it starts after she becomes aware of you, or during your interaction, it's more intentional. It shows she cares about how she appears specifically to you. Now to one of the most commonly misunderstood signals. When a woman rests her chin in her hand, touches her cheek, or gently holds her face while listening, many people assume she's bored. In reality, that's often the opposite. This behavior is known as facial framing, and it's a subtle but intimate signal. Research by Monica Moore from Webster University identified it as one of the more frequent nonverbal cues shown by women who were engaged and attracted during social interactions. By framing her face with her hands, she's unconsciously drawing attention to her expressions, her eyes, her smile, her reactions. It's a softer, more vulnerable gesture that usually appears when she feels comfortable and open around someone. So if you've ever interpreted that posture as disinterest, it may have been the opposite. The bigger picture here is that none of these signals rely on words. That's why they're so often missed. People are taught to focus on what's said, but body language frequently reveals more. Subtle gestures, how she moves, what she touches, how she positions herself, can communicate feelings more clearly than anything verbal. Understanding these signs isn't about jumping to conclusions or trying to manipulate a situation. It's about awareness. If you notice repeated patterns, like hair touching, neck exposure, fidgeting with jewelry, light physical contact, or attentive facial framing, it's worth recognizing that she may already be showing interest.